All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our monthly meeting, delayed monthly meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's a little unusual what we're doing here today. We are the first meeting after this COVID-19 infection. So bear with us, and we will conduct our meeting in a very pleasant and hopefully in a working atmosphere. As is our custom at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Dave Braden to come forward. Dave Braden is here to represent all our Cobb County employees. And if you'd all please rise, Mr. Braden will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, again, this is a little special meeting, and we're conducting it in a special way today. I'm going to give you a little insight for those of you that have never been here before on how we're going to conduct the meeting. The first thing that we will concern ourselves with today is the consent agenda. These are applications that not only this board has reviewed, but our professional and engineering staff have reviewed. To our knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases. So as we go forward, Mr. John Peterson, our head zoning administrator, will read each case into the record. And as he does, the applicant, he or she that is present in the room, will identify themselves by raising their hand. Now, I say present in the room because Mr. Peterson and his staff has contacted everybody that's to appear here today. Consequently, we've asked people not to come to the room. We're doing our social spacing 6 feet apart, so we can't accommodate everybody. So as we proceed, Mr. Peterson, as we go through the consent agenda, once we complete that, we're going to stop, take a break, approximately 5-minute break. Mr. Peterson at that time will email everybody and let them know that their case has been heard and it's been approved, or their case has not been heard and we are going to hear their case publicly. And at that time, he will ask them to come into the building. Consequently, the people that were here and your case was approved, you will leave the building. So at that time, we can bring more people in and move the people out. So bear with us. It's going to be a little unusual, but Mr. Peterson and his staff has worked this out, and it'll all be done electronically. Once we go through the consent agenda, then our next case of business will be the regular agenda. Again, the process will be the same. Mr. Peterson will read these into the record. Again, the person that, if we're going to hear this case and they're here, they'll identify themselves by raising their hand. Anybody that's going to give testimony on any case today, our officer of the day is Mr. Brian Johnson. When your case is called and you're going to give testimony, Mr. Johnson is going to ask you to, or we're going to ask you to come forward. Mr. Johnson will swear you in. All testimony will be given to the podium to my right. John, with that said, I don't know how clear, if it was clear to everybody, but if you have anything to add, please do it at this time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask the people in today's room, if you have a cell phone, please turn your phone on silent mode. If the phone rings, it does interfere with the broadcast and presentations. And as Chairman Holman said, this hearing is kind of unusual because of COVID-19. So we have a pretty lengthy consent agenda, thank goodness. And the consent agenda is divided into 3 different parts. So I'm going to read it in its 3 different parts. With that said, Mr. Chairman, there are 2 cases on today's agenda which have been withdrawn and will not be heard today. First case is variance case V62 Joanne Fabrics. That case was continued by the staff until the June 10th, 2020 variance hearing. So V62 will not be heard today. Additionally, variance case V75 Kimberly Horn. That case was continued by the staff until the June 10th, 2020 variance hearing. So V75 will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman and Board, it's come to our attention that one of the cases on consent needs to be continued until the June hearing date. That's variance case V49, Zachary J. Wright. And the applicant's representative is present here today, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Okay, sir. Give us your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Adam Rosen here for Zachary Wright and V49. I did receive the email from Mr. Peterson. I apologize for breaking the rules a little bit. We weren't entirely sure that we were going to be continued up until the last minute, but we understand the discrepancy in, I think, acreage and building size. We're going to address those concerns and re-advertise for this case as we did before, but we'll do that again with a corrected site plan if those changes are needed, and look forward to being back in front of you in a month. So Thank you.
So we'll see you in June. John, now, the process, we don't have to vote on that.
Yeah,
as a staff.
we need the board to vote on that.
We
to
need
continue.
All right, Mr. Fred Beloy, that's your district. If you make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go ahead and move that we continue B49 until next month.
Got a motion to have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, call for the vote, and
right,
we'll do it by hand. Every time it's by hand. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to approve to continue that case V49 with a 5-0 vote.
Okay,
Thank you, John.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I also got word that the applicant for variance case V72, Teresa L. Woodward, that case needs to be continued also.
Okay. Let's see, who has 72? All right, Mr. Boyd, Fred, if you would, let's hear a
Yeah,
motion.
let me just inquire first, John, are we continuing 71 also or just 72?
Just 72.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue B72 until next month.
Okay, again, I've got a motion. Again, I've got a second. Let's all signify our approval, yes or no. Okay, it's a 5-0 vote. We will take 72 off and see those people in June. Where am I now, John?
Okay, I believe we could start the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Okay, let's go. The first one would be 35?
V27.
27.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to 27.
Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for May 13th, 2020. First case is variance case V27, Matthew Johnson. Request a variance to reduce the required setbacks for an accessory structure over 1,000 square feet for an approximately 1,180 square foot barn from required 100 feet to 62 feet adjacent to the western property line and 5 feet from the rear property line, which is existing. And number two, allow parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened treated surface, which is an existing gravel driveway, in land lots 738 and 739 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Twin Branch Drive, east of Arrowhead Trail. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, an 8-foot solid wooden fence be erected along the rear property line. Number two, certificate of occupancy to be issued for the accessory structure within 60 days after the current state of emergency is lifted. And number three, no commercial or residential use of the accessory structure. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V27? Let the record show there's no one opposed to variance case V27. Variance case V35, Kwame Ingram and Kim Ingram request a variance to, number one, increase the maximum height of a fence from to the side of the house in a residential district from 6 feet to 7 feet, which is existing. And number two, allow an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 270 square foot, 1-story brick garage to be to the side of the principal building, which is existing, and land lot 255 of the 20th district. The property is located on the south side of Kennesaw Due West Road, northeast of Waterhouse Street. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V35? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V36, it's Permittable LLC, request a variance to, number one, allow a second electrical meter on a residential lot to serve the existing barn. And number two, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,800 square foot barn from required 100 feet to 50 feet adjacent to the eastern property line and the 50 feet adjacent to the southern property line, which is existing in land lot 155 of the 20th district. The property is accessed by a private easement from the west side of County Line Road, south of Stonekirk Place. Staff recommends approval, subject to no dwelling or commercial use of the accessory structure. The applicant's representative is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V36? Let the record shows one person opposed. So we'll move that one to a regular agenda, Mr. Chairman. And it's my understanding they're trying to work out a compromise as we speak. So we're going to move that to its regular place on the agenda and not here on consent agenda.
V36 would be heard if it comes up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Variance case V37, Robert Barrett requests a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure and approximately 1,125 square foot above ground pool and deck to the side of the principal building and reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,225 square foot above ground pool and deck from required 100 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the northern property line in land lot 21 of the 20th district. The property is located at the eastern terminus of Hearthstone Way, south of Colonial Trace. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V37? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V38, Alexander's Jesukas requests a variance to number 1, increase the maximum height of the fence to the side of the house in a residential district from 6 feet to 8 feet. And number 2, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,300 square foot block and frame building from required 100 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the western and southern property lines and to 70 feet adjacent to the eastern property line, existing in land lot 494 of the 16th district. Property is located on the south side of Verney Drive, south of Shannon Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, traffic comments. Number 2, stormwater management comments. And number 3, impervious surface to be 35% or less with the final plan to be approved by stormwater management. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V38? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V39, Gary Van Wigan requests a variance to reduce the front setback from required 35 feet to 26 feet in land lot 389 of the 17th district. The property is located on the northwest side of North Cooper Lake Road, north of Cooper Lake Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to number 1, traffic comments, and number 2, fire department comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V39? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V40, Shiloh Hills Baptist Church requests a variance to increase the maximum allowable height for a sign in a residential zone from required 8 feet to 9.33 feet in land lot 210 and 211 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Hawkinstow Road across from Twin Creek Drive, west of Cannon Way, and on the north side of I-575. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V40? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V43, the SIE school requests a variance to allow a wall sign to exceed the maximum allowable area of 49 square feet to 90 square feet in land lot 390 of the 18th district. The property is located on the south side of Mapleton Parkway, east of Bonanza Trail. Staff recommends approval, subject to the parapet wall along the front of the building to be rebuilt prior to sign permitting. Is the applicant, is there anyone here opposed to variance case V43? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V44, James Burke and Bernadette Burke request a variance to number 1, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 43.15%. Number 2, reduce the side setback from required 12 feet to 6 feet adjacent to the western property line, which is existing. Number 3, reduce the side setback from required 12 feet to 7 feet adjacent to the eastern property line, which is existing. Number 4, reduce the rear setback from required 40 feet to 4 feet, which is existing. And number 5, allow a second electrical meter on a residential lot in land lot 958 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Baker's Farm Road, east of Baker's Meadow Road. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V44? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V46, Patio Pros Incorporated requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 18 feet in land lot 110 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north corner of Featherstone Pass and Chatsworth Overlook. south of Longview Cove. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V46? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V47, Cynthia R. Mahaffey request a variance to reduce the front setback from required 40 feet, from required 60 feet to 40 feet in land lot 306 of the 19th district. The property is located on the northeast corner of Mirror Lake Drive and Reflections Trail. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V47? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V48, First Watch Restaurant, request a variance to allow a wall sign or signs to exceed the maximum allowable 49 square feet for each occupant or tenant to 96.33 square feet. The additional wall sign of 48.93 square feet is on the south elevation in land lots 386, 387, 406, and 407 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Sandy Plains Road, south of Shalford Road. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V48? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V50, Eugene Francis Nolan Revocable Trust and Marilyn Owens Nolan Revocable Trust. Request a variance to reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an approximately 375 square foot garage from required 12 feet to 2 feet, adjacent to the western property line in land lot 147 of the 1st district. The property is located on the southwest corner of Woods Edge Court and Hampton Farms Drive, south of Green Oak Ridge. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater management comments, and number 2, the side setback is approved for 3 feet. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V50? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V51, Carrie Davidson and Cynthia Davidson request a variance to allow an accessory structures to the side of the principal building, including an approximately 624 square foot detached garage and a 40 square foot chicken coop and its associated fenced area in land lot 291 of the 20th district. The property is located on the north side of Burnt Hickory Drive, west of McDaniel Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V51? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case of V52, Total Imaging, Inc., request a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 9.44 feet adjacent to the northern property line, which is existing. Number 2, reduce the required 200 feet of public road frontage on one road for an electronic sign to 196.18 feet. Number 3, increase the maximum total sign area allowed on the property from 60 square feet to 61.8 feet. And number 4, increase the maximum sign structure area allowed on the property from 150 square feet to 190.4 square feet in land lot 1298 of the 19th district. The property is located on the northeast corner of Andrew Drive and Veterans Memorial Highway, east of Powell Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments, and number 2, design guideline comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V52? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V53, Jacob Rutledge requests a variance to number 1, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,840 square foot proposed shop and shed from required 40 feet per previous variance V104 of 2019 to 25 feet adjacent to the east property line. Number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,000 square foot carport from required 100 feet to 25 feet adjacent to the east property line and to 59 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 3, allow parking indoor maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface, gravel drive, in land lot 575 of the 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Reese Road, east of Old Billerica Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to number 1, fire department comments, and number 2, no dwelling or commercial use of the accessory structure. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V53? Let the record shows no one opposed. Variance case V54, Jose Barrios requests a variance to number 1, reduce the front setback from required 35 feet to 34 feet, which is existing. And number 2, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 6 feet adjacent to the western property line, land lot 998 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of Sulky Circle, directly across from the northern terminus of Hackney Drive. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B54? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case B55, Jeff Zollinger requests a variance to number one, allow an accessory structures to be located closer to the side street right-of-way line than the principal structure. And that's a proposed approximately 128 square foot shed and a wooden playground in land lot 164 of the first district. The property is located on the southeast corner of Timber Ridge Road and Greystone Court, and staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case B55? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case B56, Aaron Wolf and Reynolds Wolf request a variance to number one, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface coverage from 40% to 46.1%, and number two, reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 21 feet in land lot 231 of the 20th District. The property is located at the northern terminus of Downington Lane and Brookstone Walk. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B56? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case B57, Amanda Black requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 40 feet to 25 feet. And number two, reduce the setbacks for a pool from required 5 feet to 0 feet from the rear and the 2 feet adjacent to the southern property line, which is existing in land lots 1261 and 1000 of the 16th and 17th District. The property is located on the southwest corner of Rolling Rock Road and Atlantic Country Club Drive, north of Ponte Verde Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to sewer comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B57? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V58, UFit Health Clubs request a variance to increase the allowable amount of wall signage from 49 square feet to 175 square feet in District 19, land lot 788. The property is located on the north side of the east-west connector, southeast of Powder Springs Road. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V58? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V59, Kevin Tarnowski requests a variance to number one, allow an accessory structure to the side of the principal structure, and number two, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an 1,800 square foot garage from 100 feet to any property line to 26 feet to the north property line, 21 feet to the east property line, and the 70 feet to the south property line in land lot 302 of the 19th District. The property is located on the northern terminus of Lockstone Drive, west of Wallingford Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to the accessory structure not to be used for dwelling or commercial use. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case B59? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V60, Larry Schwartz requests a variance to reduce the side setbacks from 10 feet to 8.1 feet on the east property line and to 8.9 feet on the west property line in land lot 1183 of the 16th District. The property is located at the southern terminus of Ridgewater Drive, south of Ridgewater Trail. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B60? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Excuse me. Variance case B61, Michael Waller requests a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 39% in land lot 769 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of Hillcrest Drive, east of Orchard Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B61? Let the record shows no one opposed. Variance case V65, Mark Galvin requests a variance to reduce the side setback on the east property line from 10 feet to 3 feet, which is existing in land lot 169 of the 16th District. The property is located on the north side of Windsor Drive, east of Windsor Oaks Drive. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V65? Let the record show there's no one here to oppose it. Variance case of V66, Mark Kirkowski requests a variance to number one, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed 1,200 square foot detached garage from 100 feet off any property line to 30 feet to the western property line and to 34 feet to the northern property line. And number 2, allow maneuvering and/or parking on a non-hardened treated surface, which is a gravel drive, in land lots 192 and 193 of the 20th District. The property is located on the western side of County Line Road, south of Pittman Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to number 1, all footings and structures must be located outside the impervious setback line, planned to be approved by the Stormwater Management Department prior to permitting. Number 2, stormwater management comments, and number 3, all previous stipulations from variance V58 of 2019 apply that are not in conflict with this approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V66? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V67, Fred Watkins requests a variance to 1, reduce the setback for a proposed garage, which is 1,216 square feet, from 100 feet off any property line to 13 feet to the south property line, and to 42 feet to the east property line. Number 2, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure, which is 192 square foot existing pergola, from 10 feet to 3 feet. And number 3, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 36.1% in land lot 341 of the 20th District. The property is located at the southwest intersection of Armour Drive and Armour Knoll. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V67? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V68, Interplan LLC, care of Chick-fil-A Inc. Request a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure to the front of the primary structure. Number 2, reduce the setback for an accessory structure, which is the front order canopy, from 50 feet to 25 feet. And number 3, reduce the setback for an accessory structure from 5 feet to 0 feet for the proposed dumpster enclosures in land lot 27 of the 19th District. The property is located on the south side of Dallas Highway, west of Ernest Barrett Parkway. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions: site plan review comments and design guideline comments. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V68? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V69, Clayton Signs Incorporated, requests a variance to number 1, increase the amount of wall signage from 49 square feet to 105 square feet on the north side, the front, to 85 feet on the east property line, and to 85 square feet on the west side of the building. And number 2, increase the amount of signage for the monument-based sign to 45 square feet in land lots 431 and 432 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Chastain Road, east of Busby Drive. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V69? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V70, Eric Larson requests a variance to increase the allowable amount of wall signage from 49 square feet to 101 square feet for each of the north and south facing wall signs. The property is located on the east side of Ross Road, north of Robinson Road, and land lot 1029 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V70? Let the record shows no one opposed. Variance case V71, Greater Atlanta Developers LLC requests a variance to number 1, reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 28 feet, which is existing. And number 2, reduce the side setback from 10 feet to 0 feet on the south property line, which is existing. Property is located on the east side of Twin Oaks Drive, north of Hathaway Road, in land lot 234 of the 20th District. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V71? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V73, Da Yun requests a variance to number 1, reduce the 50-foot front setback to 35 feet, and number 2, reduce the 35-foot landscape buffer to 15 feet along the west property line. The property is located on the west side of Powers Ferry Road, north of Windy Hill Road, and land lot 940 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V73? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V74, Eric Larson requests a variance to increase the allowable square footage of a wall sign from 49 square feet to 94 square feet. The property is located on the east side of Sandy Plains Road, south of Shalford Road, and land lots 386, 387, 406, and 407 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V74? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V76, Donald Smallwood and Elisa Smallwood request a variance to number 1, reduce the front setback from required 35 feet from existing variance V52 of 1980 to 28 feet. Number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 45 feet to 10 feet, which is existing. And number 3, increase the maximum impervious surface from 35% to 36.1% in land lot 542 of the 16th district. The property is located on the northeast corner of Postal Trick Road and Innsbrook Lane. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is there anyone here opposing variance case V76? The director shows no one opposed. And that's the first part of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, so the board needs to vote on that, and then I'll continue on with the rest of the consent agenda.
John, very, very good. It's certainly is your day in the barrels. You've done an excellent job there. It's back to this board for discussion, I guess, with the exception of V36, as we'll hear that as it comes up publicly. Is there any comments from any of our board members? Ms. Williams, you have a comment?
Yes, on V27, I would like to make a little amendment. We had an 8-foot, and I would like to change that to a 6-foot wooden privacy fence, and that's to be stained on both sides of the fence. And that would be subject to an email from the
Applicant?
no, the adjacent property owner. And I will give that to the clerk when we get through.
Okay, is that so noted? All right, again, fellow commissioners, anybody else? Fred, you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On V35, I've already spoken with the owner about this, and my understanding is we can require there's a large brick mailbox that's very close to the existing pavement on Kennesaw Due West Road, which is a main road here in the county. And that house sits on the inside of a curve, a slight curve in the road. So just to increase line of sight, due to that mailbox being 4 feet high and about 2.5 feet wide, I've asked that they move it back a couple feet further. So my request is that we add an additional condition that that mailbox be moved back at least 2 feet so that no brick or portion of the mailbox be within 7 feet of the outside white line on Kennesaw Due West Road. So in case somebody has a bad day, at least they're going to have to be 7 feet off. They're going to have a 7-foot bad day to hit that mailbox, and also primarily to enhance the line of sight when people go around that slight curve.
So noted, but we need a timeline. You want to put a time?
Sure. I'd say 45 days should
45
be
days.
reasonable. So that it'd be conditioned, the variance would be conditioned on that.
Madam Secretary, you have a comment on that? All right, any other comments, questions, suggestions, anything from any of our board members? At this time, I'll open it up, or I'm ready for somebody to make a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, I've got a motion. Galt?
I'll second.
I've got a second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a motion, we've got a second to approve the consent agenda as noted through the secretary. All those in favor signify by voting, raising your hands. Okay, it looks like it's unanimous vote. It is 5-0 for approval. Now, John, we're going to take a break, but before we take a break.
Mr. Chairman, we have two
I'm
other
sorry.
parts of the consent agenda to do first, and then we'll take a break.
I'm sorry, say that
We
again.
have two other parts of the consent agenda to do, and then we can take a break. I got 3 more cases.
On the consent
Yeah, We're
agenda?
going to do them separately in the consent agenda.
Okay, that's okay, but how about if I dismiss you want to do that before I
Yeah,
dismiss?
we do this so we can do all.
Okay, all right, I'll turn it back over to you, John.
Okay, the second part of the consent agenda is variance case 341, LGE. Request a variance to allow a wall sign to exceed the maximum allowable area of 49 square feet to be 382 square feet in land lot 949 of the 17th district. The property is located on the southwest corner of Stillhouse Lane and Cumberland Boulevard, south of Acres Mill Road. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V41? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case of V45, GS Portfolio Holdings 2017 LLC. Request a variance to allow wall signs to exceed the maximum allowable area of 147 square feet total for 3 tenants, to be 1,639.98 square feet in land lot 912, 913, 948, and 949 of the 17th District. The property is located on the south side of Cobb Parkway, on the west side of Acres Mill Road, and on the north side of Cumberland Boulevard. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed in variance case V45? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the second part of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
So the 41 and 45 are the second part.
Yes.
Okay, it's back to this board for discussion, and Fred, you want to make a couple of comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. As noted in our work session, I just had a concern with the fact that, a couple of things. Number one, we had so many wall sign variance requests this month, and so I'm just picking on these two that were separated into this separate consent agenda. I'm going to vote no, and my reason for doing so is simply this. The Board of Commissioners is to set policy for the county. While I understand we have the authority to grant variances, my concern is that the stated policy is so restrictive and the variances here are so great that I felt uncomfortable doing so, though I appreciate my fellow board members feeling otherwise. I'm just throwing this up that this may be a case where when it comes to the wall sign ordinance that our commission may wish to consider whether to expand this. In each instance, we started off with the suggestion we're moving off of a 49 square foot requirement. There may be cases in some parts of the county where they want it that restrictive, but it may well be that we've set the allowable square footage for a wall sign so small that we're just capturing too many folks and putting them through an otherwise unnecessary regulatory process. Thank you.
Okay, so noted. All right, we still have on the consent agenda, the second part is V41 and V45. Is there any other comments from board members? Not hearing any, I will call for the vote, or I'll call for a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the second part of the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, and Brian, it will be my second. I've got a motion, I've got a second. All those in favor signify by raising their hands. Okay, and those opposed, please raise their hand. Madam Secretary has noted that we're going to approve V41 and V45 with a 4-to-1 vote. John, where am I?
Okay, and the last part of the consent agenda is variance case V42, INOP Acquisitions LLC. Request a variance to allow a wall sign to exceed the maximum allowable area of 49 square feet to 200 square feet in land lots 943 and 944 of the 17th District. The property is located on the eastern corner of Interstate North Circle and Interstate North Parkway, northwest of Windy Ridge Parkway. Staff recommends approval. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V42? Let the record show there's no one opposed, and that completes that part of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's back to this board. There's one case on our third part of the consent agenda. That's case V42. Any comments from us fellow members? Fred, you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as I mentioned at the planning meeting or work session rather, due to the fact that I have an interest in real estate near to this property, I respectfully recuse, and if there's going to be any discussion, I'll be happy to leave the room.
Okay. All right, at this point, we don't have, or there's no need for a discussion. It's still on our consent agenda. I'm open for a motion on this particular case, V42.
Make a motion, we approve V42 on the consent agenda.
Okay, I've got a motion. I've got a second by Brian. No other discussion. I'll call for the vote. All signify by raising your hands. Okay, and those opposed, please raise their hands. There is nobody opposed, so Madam Secretary, with the noted withdrawal from Mr. Fred Boulogne, it is a 4-to-1 vote in favor. 4-0, excuse me, 4-0. All right, John, that should complete our consent agenda. So ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are in the building, your business is going to be complete for us for today. So before you leave, let me just say this. Y'all be careful, take care of yourselves, and take care of your neighbor, and have a great day. So you're dismissed, and if you would please leave the building quietly. And I guess at this time, John, we're going to take a break, Cornelius. We want to go off air for a period of time. And ladies, before we do that, Galt, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just to be real clear, that's for those people who are here for the cases on the consent agenda. If you're on the regular agenda, you need to remain.
Well, that was going to be, yeah. This is just concerning the consent agenda. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, your business is complete with us for today. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and then we're going to go into our regular agenda.
5 minutes.
About 5-minute break. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Take care of yourself and take care of your neighbor. Thank you. Welcome back to our May the 13th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. We're ready to go into our second part now, or maybe our third or fourth part, but our next agenda will be our regular cases. And again, let me remind you how we're going to conduct this meeting. Mr. Peterson is going to read these cases into the record. Those of you that are going to, as he reads them into the record, if you're available in the room and your name is called, identify yourself by raising your hand. And likewise, as we read them into the record, if there's anybody here in opposition, if they would recognize themselves by raising their hand, and if we have opposition, we will hear the case publicly, or we'll hear all these cases publicly. And again, our officer of the day is Mr. Brian Johnson. Those of you that are going to give testimony, Mr. Johnson is going to call you forward. You'll come up forward. You'll be sworn in. All testimony will be given to the podium to my right. At that time, the applicant, he or she, will have a 10-minute period to make their presentation to the board. Likewise and collectively, the opposition will have a 10-minute period to make their opposition known to the board. So if you have more than one speaker, just be cognizant of the fact that you only have a 10-minute period. With that said, John, I think we're about to begin, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next case is variance case B26. Anamias Arazo requests a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a 408 square foot outbuilding from required 10 feet to 2 feet, which is existing. And number 2, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet, which is a 408 square foot outbuilding from required 35 feet to 7 feet, which is existing. In land lot 158 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Zelma Street, west of Sandtown Road. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case B26? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Do you have a translator?
No. There's no translator.
Well, we weren't prepared. Normally, if you want a translator, they'd let us know in advance. We could have them available. Do we have anybody in the building, John, that could act as a translator or could hold this case for a period of time to get a translator? I don't know. Madam Secretary, can you help me with that? All right, I'm a little stymied. Sir, would you come forward up? Just come up, please. Brian, how about if you talk to him individually and see if we... No, we held it last month. He didn't show up last month. John, what do...
They normally bring their own translator if they need one.
Can we ask Robin, Madam Secretary, could you tell Robin, explain to Robin what our problem is and see if she can help us? I'm grasping at straws here because I really don't know which way to go.
We don't provide.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to bring you up to date, as people come before us, those that need translators, if they give us enough notice, we can have a translator here. Normally these folks bring their own translators, so it hasn't been a problem in the past. We might have a solution. Just hold on for Robin. Okay, let's swear the gentleman in and let's get going at it. All right, folks, come on over. All right, Mr. Translator, would you please give us your name?
Irvin Arazo.
Okay, we thank you very much for coming forward. You've been very, very kind to do this. And sir, you're the applicant. If you would, give us your name for the record.
Anamias Arazo.
Okay? would you tell your translator what you're wanting? You have a period to tell us what you're asking us to do.
Pues le pregunto si se va a dejar así la construcción o voy a pagar una multa.
He's wanting to know if the construction that he did, y'all are willing to leave it as is, or if he needs to, set it back to the, what's it called? The limit that there is of the setback.
Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't you have him explain to you what he's doing? We have no idea.
Okay.
Is he building a house? Is he building a playroom? Give us a little idea what he's doing.
So I live with him, I'm his son.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so I know what it is.
Okay, explain to us what you're doing.
All right, so we built a backyard house basically for storage.
Okay?
And so it's built oversized that the limit is. So we wanted to know if y'all wanted us to take it down or take it back to the set that it's supposed to be, or if we can leave it as it is.
How far, and the process is you really have the 10-minute period to tell us
Yes.
everything. I'm not supposed to be asking you questions now. I'm just trying to help you out. Give us some more information. How big the house is it brick, stucco?
So I don't remember how big the house is. I have the plan on my phone, but I believe. ¿Cuántos pies es la casa que hicimos?
Entonces de 17 por 12.
So it's 17 by 12, and I believe it's too big, so, on one side, it's too closer to the neighbors, but on the back side, it's, the right size. So we want to know if it could stay like that, instead of, taking it down.
All right, this is your survey?
Oh,
You have a
correct,
copy
correct.
of that, so you've seen this?
Yes,
You know what
correct.
this is? Okay. All right, anything else? What's it built out of?
It was built off of, 2x4s, and my dad did it basically.
It's a wood construction?
Yeah, wood construction. There's plywood inside, and on the back one underneath we got concrete under it, and it has roofing on it, roofing shingles and everything.
All right, anything else you want to tell us about this?
We basically didn't know that we were supposed to have permission for it, so we apologize for that. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here in opposition to case B26? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Mr. Galt Porter represents the district, so I'm going to turn it over to Galt.
Okay, thank you, Murray. Yes, as you know, I came out and took a look at the
Go,
shed
make sure
you
your microphone is on so we can have that.
Am I on, okay? Bring it up. Okay.
Got to get everything on the record.
Is that better? Yeah, try it. Can everybody hear me?
I think it's the mask.
I'll take off the mask for this
Okay.
part.
Can you hold it up a little bit more? We are still having a little hearing.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay. I was saying, I did visit the property and take a look at the shed and that. Then as you know, I went and talked to some of your neighbors. There were a couple people who were concerned that you may be trying to make a house out of it versus a storage shed. And, you know, can you state whether you have any intention of doing that, or if it's just storage, or what are you going to use it for?
So at first there was a bed in there, so I believe that's why I was confused. But no, it's only for storage.
Okay. Okay, and what's the purpose for the deck on the front?
Basically, we're just gonna put like tools that don't fit inside. There's a toolbox outside that was supposed to be on the back of the truck, but since we can't actually fit it inside, we just built that so it could be there.
Okay, and you have no water connected to it, correct?
No water, only electricity has been
Okay.
run.
Okay. And I guess a question for John, do they need to get a permit for this once, if we approve the variance?
Yeah, if this variance is approved, you also put a condition on it that it needs to get a certificate of occupancy with a certain timeframe.
Okay. Okay. You're just going to use it for storage and a workshop. Now, one of the things, and I know you were, I think code enforcement had cited you, is the deck can't be used for storage. You can't store tools out on the deck and things like that. That would only be, yard furniture and things like that, traditionally. And there was concern from the neighbors that the deck was making it look like it's a residential area, versus a storage building. So, does anybody else have any questions, or?
All right, Galt, are you finished for the time being?
I am finished for the time being. I can.
Okay, it's back to this board for comments or questions or discussions. Any comments from any board members? Galt, it's back to you.
Okay, and I think I'll make a motion that we approve V26, subject to all staff comments and recommendations, that it be for accessory structure to be used for storage only, that the interior of the shed remain unfinished, that there be no residential occupancy of the structure, that you don't have water connected to it, and there be no outdoor storage of anything, and that you're required to get a building permit for it and have it inspected. And that's my motion.
A second.
I've got a motion, I've got a second, no other comments, call for the vote.
Just a second. What was?
Can we get a time frame on the building permit? Like, is it 60 days?
Okay, that you get the building permit within 60 days.
Okay.
Are you okay with that
I'm okay with
modification? Okay.
Okay, and the second is okay with 60 days to complete. Again, no other comments from board members. All those in favor signify by raising your hands, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to approve case B26 based on the staff recommendations and Mr. Galt's comments with a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next one.
Variance case of V33, Vance Taylor requests a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure, an approximately 2,450 square foot pole barn to be to the side and front of the principal building. Number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 2,450 square foot pole barn from required 100 feet to 15 feet adjacent to the eastern property line and 16 feet adjacent to the northern property line. And number 3, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 3,500 square foot 2-story frame building from required 100 feet to 17 feet adjacent to the eastern property line, which is existing in land lot 121 of the 20th district. The property is located on the south side of McClure Road, east of Amos Say Walk. Is the applicant present? Is Vance Taylor here? Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V33? Mr. Chairman, the applicant is not present.
Okay, Fred, this is your case, so I'm going to ask you to make a comment. V33, the applicant is not present. Oh, I have a note here, it's been withdrawn, it was going to be withdrawn, is that correct?
This is the one on McClure Road, is that correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the applicant contacted me a week ago and indicated that he would likely not move forward at this time. So my motion would be that we allow it to be withdrawn without prejudice.
Okay, I've got a motion, do I have a second? Brian, I have a second. Any other comments? Not hearing any, call for the vote. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a 5-0 vote to allow the applicant to withdraw without prejudice on V33.
Okay.
John, next one, 40.
Sir, variance case V34,
Okay.
Stanley Sutton Jr. and Jennifer Sutton request a variance to number 1, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,755 square foot above ground pool and deck, required 100 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the southern property line, And number 2, reduce the front setback from required 35 feet to 32 feet, which is existing in land lot 166 of the 16th district. The property is located on the southwest corner of Stockton Drive and east of Brandon Drive, East Brandon Drive, excuse me, and west of Stockton Way. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicants are here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V34? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Okay, for the purpose of the record, if you would, please give us your name.
I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
For the purpose of the record, can you give us your name?
Thank you. Stanley Sutton Jr.?
Stanley?
Yes, sir.
And,
Jennifer Sutton.
okay, tell us what you want.
Well, when we first got cited, we were under the impression, the way it was told to us, that we had to remove the sided deck next to the fence, which we did. When he come back out to revisit us, he said that everything had to be moved out the yard, which I really didn't understand, and it wasn't in writing. So and then we talked to him, and he said, well, you can apply for a variance, and that's why we're here today, to apply for a variance to keep the pool. We got this odd-shaped backyard with really nothing to do with, so we decided to put a pool there and a deck to wrap around it.
Give us a little information. What is it you're trying to build, or what are you trying to do? We don't know what you're talking about. Explain it to us a little bit.
What do you
Ma'am,
What you say, I didn't hear.
Trying to go from setback from 5 feet to 2.5 feet, setback from 5 feet to 2.5 feet in
Okay.
a couple areas.
Why? Why? Are you building something there? Tell us what you're doing.
No, it's just, we like to keep the pool, and the neighbors complained that it was too close to the fence. That's the reason why we're here.
Oh, okay.
And so, like I said, we did exactly what they asked us to do, and also what the code division told us to do. So we're here today to try to keep the pool in spot.
Okay. Anything else? You got 10 minutes. Tell us anything else you want to tell us? Not a thing.
Trying to figure out why we're here.
Okay, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here in opposition to case V34? Hearing and not seeing anybody, but I do see Miss Judy Williams, who represents the district, and Judy obviously knows exactly what's going on, so I'm going to turn it over to Miss Williams.
I have to pull my mask down, I can't talk in this
I
thing.
hate this mask.
I met Jennifer on the site, and Mitch, next door neighbor, on the site too. There was you had applied for a 0 setback, but they did a new survey and found out that it actually is 2.5 feet, so we don't have a 0 setback. So I think that the neighbor, and I think there's a discussion too of the neighbor's fence might be on your property.
Yes, it was on our property, the fence was, and they've actually moved it to the property line.
Okay,
So-
all right. So I think given the circumstances, and instead of the 0, I discussed with you, I never approved a 0 setback lines. I don't like them because you'd have to get on the neighbor. But 2.5 feet, I'm comfortable with it. It's above-ground pool for those who don't know what we're talking about. It's above-ground pool with a deck that sort of goes around it, so.
Yes.
And it's, both houses are nice houses and well-kept, so. I don't have any further questions unless anyone else has any.
I don't think we do, Judy. I think we're ready for a motion, ma'am.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion that we approve Z34 from the 100 feet to the 0 feet and make that 2.5 feet. 2.5 feet. And then approve request number 2. That would be my motion.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Galt is a second on that. Madam Secretary, you've got it all under control there. No other comments? Call for the vote. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to approve case B34 with a 5-0 vote. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
John, keep on trucking.
Yes, sir. Variance case V36, it's permittable LLC, request a variance to 1, allow a second electrical meter on a residential lot to serve the existing barn, and number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for approximately 1,800 square foot barn, from required 100 feet to 50 feet adjacent to the eastern property line and to 50 feet adjacent to the southern property line, which is existing in land lot 155 of the 20th district. The property is accessed by a private easement from the west side of County Line Road, south of Stone Creek Place. The applicant is present, and earlier there were 3 people here opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Everybody that's going to give testimony, come forward and we'll get you sworn in. Yeah. All right, ma'am, when you're ready, if you would, please give us your name.
My name is Jennifer Wolf. I'm with It's Permittable LLC, and I'm here on behalf of property owner Shane Dornberg. Our variance request today is to add a second meter, electrical meter, to his existing barn. Mr. Dornberg brought the property in, I believe it was late October 2019. The home's previous owner had made some modifications, completely gutted the house from what I understand, and during that process, they severed the existing electrical line from the house to the barn itself. A local electrician was hired to try to find that source of line, but due to cost and expenses, they decided not to run the line from the house, that to add a second meter would be more efficient. The barn serves a purpose of storing off-road vehicles and then also lawn maintenance equipment, pool toys, soccer gear, football gear, all that kind of good stuff. It is not going to be used for a commercial property. It's not going, or a business. It's not going to be used for residential, any residences or anything of that nature. It's strictly just used for storage. He would like to have the second meter so he can add or maintain the existing light fixtures that are out there to the property. He doesn't have any plans to actually add any kind of sound systems or radio that would be disturbing to the neighboring tenants as well. It's strictly just storage.
Anything else you want to tell us, Ms. Wolf?
I did meet with the opposing parties, and we did, they had some stipulations, and we did come to an agreement on those stipulations. I've made some notes, so they're not really the most professional, but they're more than welcome to discuss these stipulations with you, or I can on their behalf, whichever you guys would prefer. And then we could email them to Mr.
Well, we got to get it, we want to make it part of the record.
Yeah,
so
if you-
some-
Understand.
If you wouldn't mind reading them, so they're at least in the record, and then you'll leave a copy of that with us, if they are agreeable, when they come and testify as well. the-
Absolutely. Okay, so the opposing parties, they had 9 stipulations. The first one was no person shall take residence in the structure. This includes no short or long-term rentals, leases, or any rents of any type. We agree to that. Number 2, the physical size of the barn structure will not increase in height or come any closer to any of the property lines. We agree to that as well. It's existing, it's been on the property. Number 3, 4 sides of the structure and roof will at minimum remain in current condition for the life of the building. We will maintain, the owner will maintain these as proposed. Number 4, as the current barn structure is currently out of code and too close to the property lines, all sides of the barn structure that face all property lines must have an elevated agricultural vegetation barrier no less than 5 feet to camouflage the site of the barn structure. We discussed this and we agreed that that would be, that's agreeable. However, he does have the right to trim, maintain that vegetation from diseased trees and things that may, come down during to weather-related items. We also agree that there will be no fencing of any sort installed. Number 5, no lighted, unlighted commercial signage, including no commercial signage detached from the barn structure. This also includes no commercial lighted, unlighted signage on elevated poles or structures. We agree with that. Item number 6, no commercial dumpsters and/or trash receptacles of any kind. We discussed temporary dumpsters are allowed, but not near the barn. They would be allowed near the house only for any kind of cosmetic improvements, things of that nature. Item number 7, all utilities must be underground. This includes all electrical wires, video, TV, cable, satellite wires, plumbing, compressed air. I don't see an issue with that. There is a transformer that's about 30 feet away. I'm not sure what purpose it served, but if that's where the second meter needs to tie in or however that works, I would ask the electrician to handle that and go through the proper procedures. I don't see us having any issues with that. Number 8, no lighting of any kind on elevated poles, structures. 8A is all lighting must not face property lines and/or any home bordering the property. We've agreed to this. We will rotate any existing heads. No new poles will be added. However, the property owner would like to be able to maintain the existing poles, should they be corroded or rotted or what have you. However, there will be no increase in height, and looking through my conversations with the property owner, he has agreed to only put solar-powered lights at the entrance. So no additional lights other than solar-powered at the entrance and maintaining the existing ones on site with a rotated head to stay away from the neighbors, imposing on the neighbors. Number 9, no commercial equipment. Any non-commercial equipment that is used must cease by 5 p.m. and start no earlier than 9 a.m. Monday through Friday and operated between the hours of 9 to 3 p.m. Saturday, Sunday. We agreed 6:30 p.m. Any non-commercial equipment that is used must be ceased by 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and the hours of 10 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday. That is all I have, Board.
Wow. Am I looking at this correct? You represent a piece of property, you represent an owner of a piece of property that has 10 acres,
Yes, sir.
and he's willing to give up all that? I think that's amazing. I think that's more than kind.
He is willing to be, he wants to be a good neighbor.
Wow. Okay. Anything else you want to tell us?
I understand that the barn is currently not within the code allowance, but it is an existing barn. We would like to meet continue with the existing nonconformity of the setback requirement. I know it's a part of the variance process, but we were really here to add a second meter.
Okay.
That is it.
All right, now, you have read those into the record. Are you prepared to give the clerk a copy of that?
Yes, after I take a photo of it for myself.
Okay, okay. All right, anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, sir.
Okay, at this time, if you would have a seat, take a photo of that, we'll hear from the opposition.
Wonderful, thank you.
Your name, sir?
My name is Ryan Friend. We originally opposed the variance. Based on how it was turned in, we agreed to the stipulations that were just read into record. So at this point, we're good.
Okay. Where do you live, sir, if you would? Tell us where you live in relation to this piece of property.
Directly behind the barn structure.
So are you on acreage too?
I'm sorry?
Are you on acreage too? Do you have 10 acres on your property? How much property do you have?
1 acre.
1 acre.
Just shy of 1 acre, I believe.
Wow. Anything else you want to tell us?
Nope, we agreed to the stipulations that were just read, so I'm good.
I guess, yes, okay. So anything else you want to tell us?
Have a good day. Thank
For
you.
for the purpose of the record, is anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to case V36? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Fred Beloin represents the district, so I'm going to turn it over to Fred.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And District 1, I think we lead the county in barns, so we'll look forward to working through this one. If I could get the gentleman who just spoke in opposition, sort of, it's still technically opposition, if I could get you to come back up. I listened to all 9 of those, and one was, I believe, that they're going to have to put vegetation of a certain height on all 4 sides of the barn. Did I understand that correctly?
So on the property border, there's currently vegetation there. Our concern was, since the barn structure is so close to the property line, that if the owner decided to take down that vegetation, that there would be a number of houses that would look out their back door and see this red structure. So if they do take it down or alter the vegetation that's there, we're just asking that they put something back to camouflage the red barn.
All right, so just to be clear, your concern is just vis-à-vis your property line and that being maintained, that vegetation being maintained relative to your property line, not the far side of the barn?
Yes, sir, correct.
Thank you. Okay. You're good, you can have a seat.
Wait a minute, before he leaves, is there any other commissioners want to ask this gentleman a question? Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Fred.
Can I just get can I get the applicant's representative back up with those? And I hate to start altering such a excellent legal document. Can you just read again what it said about vegetation?
Vegetation, sure. As the current barn structure is currently out of code and too close to property lines, all sides of the barn structure that face all property lines must have elevated agricultural vegetation barrier no less than 5 feet to the camouflage the side of the barn structure.
Can you change, instead of saying all sides, could you please change that to just simply saying whatever side it is that this gentleman lives alongside?
Ryan, is that the north?
Logically, you're going to have to get in one side of the barn,
Sure.
right?
The way I interpreted it,
We would prefer if it states.
Sir, you have to come forward. I got to get you on the microphone.
Yes, sure. We would prefer that it states that there's vegetation on the property lines, possibly to have visibility to it. So
Can we-
there's basically 3 sides of the structure.
Can we
Two
define,
sides.
can we define those property lines anyway, so we're not,
North, south, east, or west?
I'd have to look at the map in front of me.
Cornelius, can you show
I
the,
have them.
we can get that
Oh,
for
the
you.
south and east property lines.
Here's the barn right here. So 46.
Yeah, in particular, lot 45 and 46.
Yes, I see those. Those are at that corner, what looks like,
It's the north corner.
if north is up, then it would be the
The south.
southeast corner.
Southeast
correct?
corner.
So can we say any vegetation presently existing and apparent from lots 45 and 46 and lot 369, just to cover it going around the corner, must remain?
Reasonable to me, yes.
Okay. Can I get you to change that to any vegetation between the barn and lots 47, 46, and 369, rather than what's, and have you read that back into the record as an amended stipulation?
Sure.
Can I
And
ask
if I
a
could keep you
question?
both back up here for just a second, I have one more thing.
Sure.
Mr.
For the
Bowen?
record,
Yes?
Can I ask a question? You
Yes.
know, when they read it in, it was a 5-foot wide buffer, right? Adjacent to the lots. I think we're gonna need a distance to define that buffer, because the way it's worded is, it's any vegetation can't be taken out.
Okay, so there has to be a minimum of thank you, a minimum of a 5-foot wide buffer maintained with vegetation between the barn and lots 47, 46, and 369 is shown on the.
Cornelius,
on the
push that up a little
45.
bit. Push that up, help me get back. Keep going up. There
you
there you
go.
go, there you go. That's
That's so
good.
much easier.
Yeah.
That'll do it, won't it? We're keeping that 5-foot vegetation buffer between the barn and lots 47, 46, and 369. That'll serve the purposes there, right?
yes. 45,
And
46.
45.
What's that?
And 45.
45.
There's just a little bit of 45 there, too.
Right, okay. Thank you. Let me try saying it again. The applicant will maintain a 5-foot greenscape buffer between the barn and lots 47, 46, 45, and 369 as depicted on the plat in our zoning book.
Yes,
That's acceptable?
yes.
Okay, good. Then, and what number, give me the number again on that one?
Item number 4,
Item number 4. Okay, then while you're both still up here, I appreciate all the other stipulations, they're great. The one thing I didn't understand is, will there be any commercial use made of the barn whatsoever, any business use?
absolutely not, no.
Okay, so, okay, I'll take care of that. That's all I have for these folks, if anybody else has questions.
Okay, back to the commissioners. Anybody else? I think this guy is getting a heck of a lot, you're getting a terrific deal. A person has a 10-acre piece of property, giving up all those stipulations, I'm just flabbergasted. I really got to thank you, Ms. Wolf, and your representative, your client. So I'm just amazed. A 10-acre piece of property is giving all that up. Amazing. Okay, Fred, anything else?
I'm ready to make a motion unless anyone has any questions or comments. Okay. My motion will be that the stipulations agreed upon by the parties, as amended by our change to the stipulation concerning landscaping, which I think was number 4. So the amended number 4 that we just agreed upon will supplant the original number 4. I believe that's being marked on what's being provided to the county, so the record will reflect that. In addition, number 10 will be that no commercial business use will be made at the barn. So with those 10 stipulations, I recommend approval of the 2 variances requested, which were to allow a second electrical meter and to reduce the setback for the barn structure from 100 feet to 50 feet.
Got a motion, I've got a second by Brian. No other discussion. I guess I'll call for the vote. All in favor, signify by voting. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to approve that 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's go to the next one, John.
Variance case V63, Cesar Castaneda Meza, excuse me, Cesar Castaneda Meza requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from 35 feet to 21.5 feet for the primary structure. Number 2, to reduce the setback for an accessory structure, an existing 660 square foot frame shed and storage building from 100 feet off any property line to 4 feet from the western property line and to 18 feet from the south property line. And number 3, reduce the setback for an accessory structure, an existing outdoor kitchen from 5 feet to 0 feet from the south property line and land lot 952 of the 19th district. The property is located at the southern terminus of Brianna Drive, south of Brianna Court. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V63? Is anyone here opposed to V63? Mr. Chairman, the applicant is not present and there is no one here opposed.
Okay, applicant is not present. We have called the case. Galt Porter represents the district. Galt, do you have a comment or what do you want to do?
You know, I did talk to the applicant and made him aware of the meeting, and my understanding is they were going to come, and I let him know he wouldn't be on consent agenda, so he'd have to be here. I think maybe we should continue it to next
Continue.
month.
Go ahead, make the
So I make a
motion.
motion that we continue B63 till our June hearing.
Okay, I've got a motion. Judy, I've got a second. No other comments. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by voting. We're going to continue case V63 until our next scheduled meeting with a 5-0 vote. Okay, John?
Variance case V64, Capstone RLSJN LLC requests a variance to 1, reduce the number of parking spaces for a daycare from 20 parking spaces to 15 parking spaces. Number 2, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 70% to 91%. And number 3, reduce the side setback on the south property line from 15 feet to 12 feet, which is existing. And land lot 1155 of the 19th district. The property is located on the west side of Allstate Road, south of Clay Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V64? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Clay Road. Okay, for the purpose of the record, if you would give us your name, please, first.
Name is Robert Emegene.
You got to speak a little closer to the microphone.
Robert Emegene.
Okay, sir. Ma'am?
Olohije Imojin.
Okay, tell us what you want.
Okay, so we're having a daycare. We bought a property, an existing property. So we don't have enough parking for, like, if you're going to have an approval for a daycare today. So it requires 20. So we're requesting to lower that number below 15. So that way we can have, we're approved for about 40 kids.
Speak a little closer to the microphone.
Sorry. We're approved for about 40 kids right now. So we're trying to figure out how to get the application to get the parking spaces required for that bigger daycare to 15 and below. That's what we're trying to do.
So you have an existing building, but you need more space for parking, is that correct?
We have space for parking, but we don't have enough space to get approved for a 45-kid daycare. So the variance is to reduce the number of parking that we're going to need for the daycare.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell it, ma'am?
Yeah, we got a call from, I think, from one of the boards, and were telling us that we are requesting too much for the parking. They needed us for 71% instead of 90%, because 15 parking daycare is for 90% of the property. So with his suggestion, it's better to do another site plan to fit for the 71%, and that's where we would like to withdraw our application and get a new site plan to fit the 71%, in which what they're asking for.
Okay. So you want to withdraw for the time being to get a new site plan, is that what you're asking?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, well, we're in the middle of the hearing, so I can't, let me, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here that wants to be in opposition to case V64? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Mr. Galt Porter represents that district, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Galt.
Okay. Thank you, Murray. Yeah, as we were discussing, and I think we had discussed during our work session, there's just a whole lot going on this small piece of property. And, you know, with everything you have on it, the impervious surface is 91%, and the allowable amount's 70. So you're asking for a variance of 21%. And in this area, we've had lots of complaints of flooding and that. So every time you add impervious surface, you add to the flooding problems. So, you know, I'm personally not willing to go above the 70% on this. So that would be one thing that I would think you'd need to address with the new plan. Also, when you add the additional impervious surface that you're going to be adding, you'll have to do stormwater management.
Yes.
You know, detain that water and slowly release it and that, which isn't shown on the plan. You know, you can do it above ground, you can do it below ground, which I think gets more expensive to do. So that's one of the other issues we saw with the plan. I did talk with a representative from the fire marshal's office, and because the house is close enough to Austell Road, they don't require that there be a certain distance to get around the house, that they could, if there was a fire, they could fight it from the road. So that's a big plus for you that we had talked about, because some of the aisleways weren't wide enough for the fire trucks.
Right.
And that's come up in other cases in the past. Another issue that DOT has in their comments, and they can, if they haven't already, they can share their full comments with you, is that there's currently 2 driveways, and your lot's not wide enough to allow for 2 driveways. So one of them would have to be closed, that western one. And then the driveway to the east, which on here almost aligns right up with the traffic light. You'd have to upgrade that to commercial standard that fully aligns with the traffic light. And that may also require installation of like a light on your side. I assume there's not one right now, so that may be something, just trying to make sure you consider all the expenses. You know, DOT does require you to have some type of plan that you show them as to how people are going to drop off and pick up kids. So we'd like to see that as well, to make sure Now, the good news is you can keep that driveway on the western side of the house. It's only 12 feet long, but it has to be made one-way because it's not wide enough for two-way.
Yeah.
So you'll have to plan on your site plan, traffic to flow through, coming one way around the building with your drop-off and all of that. And let's see, and there's also a comment that DOT had regarding a sidewalk project where there's going to be sidewalks installed in front of the property, and they want to make sure that that driveway is closed before the sidewalks are installed. So that would be something. Now, we talked about reducing the number of kids so that you'd reduce maybe the parking. John, do you have any comments on, with this daycare, is the parking being driven totally off of the square footage, or is the kids involved in it?
No, the parking is driven by the zoning code, which is 20 minimum, no matter how big the building is.
Okay, so that's an issue. I guess, one thing is if you eliminate the western driveway, it may allow you to pick up a little bit more parking there. 90-degree parking spots may get you more, I don't know. It looks like you have enough width between them to do 90 versus the angled. But, when you reduce the amount of impervious, you're going to take out where you have some of the parking right now.
Yes.
So it's going to be a challenge drawing a new plan. So I wanted to get that to you. We may consider a small variance, but this was a 25% variance, which is kind of a large variance in parking. So design out, see what you can do. Those were kind of the general comments. Now, I think I discussed with you, if you wanted, you could ask us to hold this case and give you more time to bring back a different plan, or you could withdraw it if you think it's going to be a while before you get a plan and just come back later with it.
Yeah, I think we will do the withdrawal because there's a fair bit of things we need to go through in that plan right now, and so we have to think it through and see what the best case would be to reduce the number of cars or parking spots or the kids. So we'll have a lot to think about there, so.
Okay. And part of it is the 20 is the minimum number of spots required for a daycare. So even reducing the kids doesn't reduce your parking.
Okay.
So that's what we just got clarified with Mr. Peterson. So, well, if you'd like to withdraw it, then is there any other discussion?
No, we could do that. As a matter of fact, I think that's what you should do. I'm familiar with a piece of property, really truly, less than a quarter of an acre. You really ought to go across the street to the shopping center. They've got vacancies in that shopping center. That would eliminate all your problems. You've got to remember when you do daycare, you've got to stack those cars up in the morning going in, you got to stack them going out. And Austell Road is a very heavily traveled road. So I think you're making a wise decision, rethink everything, and then come back to us later.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so.
All right, go right ahead.
With that, I'll make a motion that we withdraw Z64 without prejudice.
Second.
Got a motion, I got a second, no other comments, call for the vote. All in favor signify by raising their hands. Okay, it's a 5-0 vote. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to allow you to withdraw without prejudice. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, be careful. John, come on, buddy, where am I?
I believe that completes your agenda, Mr. Chairman and
Is
Board.
that going to be the end? Oh, my goodness.
Y'all did a fantastic job today.
I tell you what, John, you and your staff
I think
absolutely
staff did a great job.
you guys have done an outstanding job. Your
Good job,
staff has done an
Jessica.
outstanding job, and it's, for those of the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that are home watching us, understand that this has been the first time ever in Cobb County that we've conducted a meeting like this, and we certainly appreciate all your comments and your ability to listen to us. Before we leave, I've got a couple of things to say, but Fred, I want to recognize you because you want to recognize some folks. So Fred Beloit, if you would, please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to send a shout out to all the folks who are seniors or in their last year of school anywhere this year, high school seniors, college seniors, grad students. I'm really sorry you didn't get a chance to march because of some of the rules in place right now, and that balloon's for you on behalf of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
That's very, very nice. And that is, it's a heck of a thing. These kids go to school for 12 years. This is the end, and everybody says goodbye, and they can't see their friends, the family doesn't get to cry and be happy, so it's a shame. Ladies and gentlemen, before we leave, I've got a couple of cleanup things to do. I need a motion and an approval on March the 11th meeting and also the May 11th meeting. So Judy, if you would you make those motions, please?
Yes, I make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, and who's my second? Brian's my second. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, that's a 4-1 vote, it's a 5-0 vote, and we appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I said this once before, I'm going to say it again. Please be careful, take care of yourselves, and take care of your neighbor. Thank you very much. Let's go to the house, Cornelius.